welcome to Hosta La Vista, the podcast where the shade is cool, the leaves are lush, and friendship's perennial. We are your hosts. I'm Betsy Peterson.
And I'm Mandy Olson.
Two hobbyist sisters who love this plant as much as you do.
Join us each week as we dig into all things hosta, the plant affectionately known as the friendship plant.
Welcome back to Hosta La Vista. Whether you're a longtime listener or tuning in for the first time, we're so glad you're here. If you've ever flipped through the Hosta Journal and admired a perfectly framed plant portrait, or if you've ever wondered who's working behind the scenes to elevate the American Hosta Society's image, then today's episode is for you. Our guest has been growing hostas since the late 70s, serving the AHS in roles from president to photo editor, mentoring photographers, leading workshops, and helping guide the direction of the society for decades. He's a pillar in the hosta world, and we're honored to have him here today. It is our pleasure to welcome to the show Andy Marlow. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, how did your passion for hostas begin, Andy?
Well, sort of accidentally. I really eschewed gardening for a long time because as a kid, gardening involved being out in the heat and the sweat and the mosquitoes and weeding the garden, which was kind of forced labor and wasn't too happy about it.
I was going to say, there's not a single kid I know that likes any of those things.
So when we finally bought a house, first thing we did was put in a vegetable garden, which my mind is the entry drug for people who get seriously into gardening is they want to grow some fresh vegetables. Well, in that house, we moved out of there soon, and then we had a vegetable garden. We had roses and we had peonies in another house, and we ran out of room. So in 1979, we moved to where we live now. And there were hostas growing on the north side of the house, the green ones and the green and white ones. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anything about them. Around the same time, I got involved with the Men's Garden Club of Minneapolis, which had been around since the 1940s. And over the course of the first 3 years, I met a guy named Dr. Bob Olson, who had been a 3-time president of the American Hosta Society. I don't think he was not then the editor of the Hosta Journal, but a great hosta enthusiast. And one of the other members of the Men's Garden Club was Bob Savory, who was one of the pioneering hybridizers of hostas. So by knowing them, I got to know more about hostas and became really good friends with Dr. Olson, who had this unique talent for convincing you to do something you had no idea you ever wanted to do. I called it being bobbed, and I was bobbed many times.
Being bobbed. I love it. Oh my gosh, that's great.
So Bob sort of led me into the hosta world.
That's great. Well, what brought you into the American Hosta Society in a more official capacity?
Well, again, we blame Bob Olson. He became editor of the Hosta Journal and inherited some of the previous, I'll call them staff, they're volunteers. And he decided he would like to have someone more attuned to his aesthetic be the photo editor. So I was bobbed into becoming the photo editor of the Hosta Journal back in 2003. And we actually had a great time, being part of that crew, the triumvirate, I think he called it, of the Hosta Journal. Bob Olson, the editor, and Janet Mills, the designer, and me. And we all live here in the Twin Cities, so it worked out very well. We could get together and have a nice social lunch and plan out the magazine for the next In those days, we were doing two, and then we were doing three issues a year.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
So that was very fun.
Huh.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, I really enjoy the journal. I have mine. I'm sitting right over here looking at it, and I've flipped through it multiple times this year, trying to figure out which, section I enjoy the most. And the photography section is just amazing. And I can I there's a little blurb in the back that says if you want past journal entry or magazines or whatever, reach out. I think it's to Barry Ankney, and he'll send you previous years, and I'm thinking, okay, how many years back can I go? Is it bad to ask for a whole box of them?
Well, I've just had to expand my bookshelf downstairs
Oh,
since
Ah,
I've collect every issue and save it.
oh
And
yeah.
I don't have them going back to the beginning, but I have them going back quite a ways.
oh,
And there's a noted change, in the late 90s. Um, I think Kevin Wallach was the editor of the Hosta Journal then. And somebody, I believe it was the president of the American Hosta Society, Dr. Bob Olson, convinced Kevin to hire Janet Mills as the designer of the magazine.
Hmm.
And there was an immense change in the look and feel of the magazine at that point.
Hmm.
And then, of course, a few years later, Bob took over from Kevin as the editor.
Hmm.
hmm.
Interesting.
Well, was there a pivotal moment that shifted you from hobbyist to leadership?
Well, I got bobbed a couple of times involved with the Minnesota Hosta Society. Uh, he convinced me to become the secretary one year when he was the chair of the nominating committee. And then I became the treasurer for a while. I don't think I ever served as vice president, but then I became president of the Minnesota Hosta Society.
Oh,
And it wasn't an uncomfortable thing. I'd been, when I was in my radio life, my working life, I'd been president of a couple of statewide organizations. So
Hmm.
didn't feel uncomfortable taking on the role of presiding over meetings
yeah.
and sort of directing the organization.
Huh.
And then I got a call, this would have been in early 2019, from Bob Solberg, wondering if I would be interested in becoming president of the American Hosta Society.
Oh.
And I said, I got to think this over. I got to talk this
Yeah.
over with my wife. And as I thought about it, I thought if they're reaching that far down in the barrel there,
Oh.
I better say yes, because how many have they gone through already?
It's far down the
Uh,
barrel. Oh, Andy, no, no, no.
so, so I eventually said yes and
Oh my God,
went from there.
it's terrible. Now, before we move on, you said your radio life. What did you do in your working life with the radio?
Well, I actually started out in college. We built our college radio station at St. Cloud State, everything from laying wire in the steam tunnels beneath the buildings to putting
Wow.
together the studio. And then I taught for a couple of years at a community college and finally got hired as the public affairs director at KUOM, the University of Minnesota
Hmm.
radio station.
Oh, that's
So
great.
for the first number of years, I was the public affairs director and had an hour-long program about political and social issues 5 days a week. Um,
Nice.
and later, we transitioned to a student operated radio station. Um, and by then, I had become the station manager, and they kept me around for two reasons. At least I saw two reasons. One was to keep the students from getting the university in trouble, and the other was to keep the administration off the students' backs so they could be creative. And that worked out pretty well until I retired in 2009.
Yeah,
Wow. Huh.
very
Well,
cool.
well, who were your early mentors or influences in the hosta world?
Well, obviously, the very biggest one was Bob Olson.
Yeah.
Um, he was not a hybridizer, but he was a cheerleader. Uh, he influenced my photography immensely. And he just was a fierce advocate for both the plant and the societies, the Minnesota, the Midwest Regional, and the American Hosta Society. So he certainly would be number one. Bob Savory, I only knew for a short time before he passed away. Um, and Don Dean, of course, who is also a Minnesota guy and a good friend of Bob's and a friend of mine, and very influential in my thinking about hostas. And in fact, during his tenure as president of the American Hosta Society, there was a big dust up. And I don't remember what the issues were, and I didn't never want to get into them. But he thought the convention in, oh Lord, maybe 16 was going to be very contentious, and he wanted a parliamentarian. And at some point, I had told him that I had taken a full quarter course in parliamentary procedure when I was in college.
Oh,
So he appointed me to be the parliamentarian. And so that's probably how I really got involved on the national level.
okay.
Interesting. Huh.
Did you end up having to use your skills?
Actually, everything kind of settled out, and none of the uh, fireworks that were anticipated happened. So
Oh, good.
it was a precautionary measure that proved unnecessary, but there I was.
Oh, good. Well, very good. You have been the photo editor of the Hosta Journal since 2003. How did that opportunity come about?
Well, as I was Bob.
Yeah, okay.
Bob really wanted someone who was more in line with his way of thinking about photography and the use of photographs in the journal and what was good and what wasn't, and someone that he could communicate with conveniently. And
Okay.
I saw him on a pretty regular basis, so that worked out quite well.
Okay. So it was just because you were local. That's all it was, huh?
Well,
Teasing.
was no, I was easily influenced. I think that's what it actually was.
Well, now that you've been doing this for so long, what do you look for in a truly great Hosta photograph?
Boy, it's a long list. Number one, it's a great plant. If we're looking at a photo of an individual hosta, it really has to be a prime specimen, a mature plant, um, typical of its type. I mean, we don't want a weird looking whatever.
Hmm.
We want something that looks like the description of the plant, like it's supposed to look. It has to be well lit. I mean, it has to be in focus. Um, and it has to have some level of composition. Um, Not necessarily um, pictures of an entire mature clump, but pictures of a garden, for instance, um, need to have some life to them, some flow to them, uh, rather than just being a piece of wallpaper. Um, has to have a focus. Um, I don't know if you know about the rule of thirds
I
in
do.
photography composition. Always helpful to have the rule of thirds implemented. It's also helpful to have something that draws your eye, frequently a path or a shape or something that makes your eye move through the photograph so it isn't just laying there lifelessly.
Yeah.
It's got to get you involved somehow.
Andy, can you briefly describe the rule of thirds?
The rule of thirds is if you create imaginary lines uh, in the frame of the photo, one third up from the bottom, one third down from the top, and one third in from each edge. Try and align something along those lines of thirds. I think it's more effective to align something along the horizontal thirds, like the horizon or the edge of the garden or whatever it might be. Um, but an even better thing is to get an object of interest at the intersection of those lines.
Okay.
Usually better in the top right or the top left rather than the bottom. Um, but that's how you would use the rule of thirds.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. You have been known to say that the best camera is the one that is with you. What advice do you have for gardeners who want to capture their plants well?
Well, number one, keep an eye out for an opportunity to take a good photo. Um, Number two is make sure the light is right. Do not take a picture in bright sunlight because it's not going to show the plant to its best. It's going to fade out all of the colors and just make for an unpleasant experience. Um, Look at the background of the photo. Uh, you know, we have a human tendency to focus in on what it is we're trying to take a picture of and ignore all the rest. The
Mhm.
camera doesn't ignore all the rest.
Yeah.
It's going to end up in your photo. So make sure it's pleasant, it's complimentary, or it's invisible. Any of those things. Um, get up um, close as you can to where you're going to be. Getting close is much better than zooming in.
Yeah.
The perspective is entirely different. Um, get down low. Don't photograph like you're in a helicopter.
Yeah.
I like to say between 20 and 70 degrees from the ground
Okay.
to be able to be taking a picture of a hosta. Um, if the plant's got stuff on it, dead leaves, whatever, brush it off, get
Yeah.
it clean, make it look good.
Yeah.
Um, if you're in somebody else's garden or ask, but if you're in your own garden, definitely do this. Pull out any plant markers. So you're just taking a picture of the plant
Oh, okay.
um, and then carefully put it back,
Hmm.
which is very important. And one of the things that I like to do, provided the plant is labeled, they aren't always in tour gardens, is I'll take a picture of the plant and then I'll take a picture of the label. So when I get back and start sorting through things, I'll be able to name that plant because I'll never remember.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's important. Very good.
Yes.
I will say right now where I live, there's a whole lot of bumblebees out pollinating. And I
Yeah.
get a lot of photos, and I love them, of bumblebee butts sticking out of of the flowers. They're so cool. And I keep thinking, I'm going to submit one of these. I got to get a really good one with a lot of pollen stuck on his legs. I mean, it's just going to be neat.
Well, there's a good photos, and we're going to talk about the photo contest a little later, and
Yeah.
we do make provision for those kinds of photos. So,
Okay. Well,
Do
that's
you?
good.
Oh.
That's good. So, over the years, how has technology changed the way we document and share hostas?
well, certainly the way we share the internet has provided all kinds of great ways to share things. I spend a lot of time, probably too much time on Facebook, looking at all of the Hosta Society pages
Mhm.
and all the photographs. I just this afternoon uh, in the non-official American Hosta Society site, there were just a whole series of great garden photos uh, by folks sharing, and also the Minnesota Hosta Society site as well. So that's number one. Number two, the ease of taking photos has just improved.
Mhm.
People take a lot more photos than ever before. When I was a young person in high school and in college, a photograph was a pretty rare thing because you had to buy the film,
Mhm.
get the picture taken, then get it developed, and hope it turned out.
Mhm.
Well, now you don't need to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You take the picture, you look at the back of the camera, good photo, and you're good to go.
I remember, I started off in film cameras as well, and you had to be very intentional because you only got 24 shots in that roll of film. So you had to be super careful about, well, do I really want this photo or is it, I don't know. Now you can just shoot off, 100 and then weed through and figure out what you actually want to keep. It's a very different feel, I think, with
Mhm.
photography at least.
I think keeping a 1 in 10 is probably a good ratio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Though some days you get lucky, and it's much better than that. But
Yeah.
yeah, my first photographs were with a Brownie camera, only
Yeah.
had black and white, and and I think you could only get a roll of 12 then
Oh boy.
for that camera.
Oh, wow.
Um, and you might luck out and get a couple of good ones out of the 12.
Yeah.
Uh, in uh, in 2002, my wife and I went to Kenya, and I think we shot 70 rolls of film.
Oh
Oh,
my
wow.
gosh.
Um, so just imagine going through that
Yeah.
when you get home, and the cost of developing it was insane.
I bet.
So,
Oh, I can
Wow.
imagine. Probably well worth it though, I would imagine.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the annual photo contest. What makes a winning photo stand out from the crowd?
Well, it all depends on the category. We have 5 categories: Hosta close up, entire mature clump, multiple mature clumps, hostas in the landscape, and artistic expression. And then, as we were talking about, the bumblebee's butt would fall in the artistic expression category. We don't get a lot of bumblebee ones, but one of and in fact, the winner this year in that category was an incredible photo of a. Now I'm blanking on the name of the insect.
Wasn't it a dragonfly?
It was a fabulous golden dragonfly.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
wow.
just was incredible.
Huh.
But very often we have little tree frogs
Oh, yeah.
and other critters involved. And also in that category, of course, you can have manipulation with filters and Photoshop
Mm.
and stuff like that. So uh, it's a little more open than the other categories that we try to keep purely to the hostas so that
Yeah.
we're showing people what's really possible in the
Hmm.
world and not unusual circumstances.
Yeah.
Well, can you share some memorable or surprising past winners?
The one that just blew me away, guy named Jay McWhirter, who lives in Iowa. Um, 3 of us have always judged the photo contest, and all 3 of us are adamant about no drops of water on the hosta leaves.
Really?
People love it. They think it's great, but what it does is it draws attention to the water drops and away from the hosta leaf.
Mm.
And it just distracts people. But
Yeah.
there's an exception to every rule. And this was an exception to that rule. I don't remember the hosta, but this was in the close-up category. And Jay caught just the tip of a hosta leaf with a drop of dew, or maybe it was rain,
Oh.
coming off the edge in a perfect little teardrop shape,
Huh.
reflecting the hosta.
Oh.
Oh,
And
wow.
he laid on the ground to get this photo. It was absolutely stunning.
Oh,
Oh.
wow. I can just imagine it. That's amazing.
What are some common mistakes that even good photographers make when submitting photos?
Um, two or three of them, we talked about the water droplets.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about the background. So those are the two big ones. The other two I have catchphrases for. That is black holes.
Yeah.
There will be a part of their photograph that is just blacked out. And what black holes do is they suck your vision in,
Mm.
just like they suck all the light in, you know, in astronomical terms. So your eye gets directed to that and away from the subject of the photo. So black holes, not in. The opposite of that are what I call solar flares, where there is some bright spot in the photo that just forces your eye away from it. So again, you're distracted from the subject of the photo. You know, the rest of the photo may be great, but you're not going to pay attention to it because either you're falling into the black hole or your eyes being forced away by the solar flare.
Okay.
Well, what tips would you give someone entering for the first time?
Enter all 20.
Okay.
You know, as many photographs as you have. Follow the rules. Label the darn photo. Email programs, people submit by email, and you get image 1, image 2, image 3, image 4, and it's very difficult to coordinate the list they send you with image 1.
Yeah.
What is image 1? Unless you're, you know, a Don Rawson who can recognize every hosta cultivar in the world,
Right.
you're sometimes lost. So good label, follow the rules. Biggest rule is that is violated is send the largest resolution photo you can find. Email programs tend to reduce or compress the photographs so they're easier to transmit. So make sure that your email program is not compressing the photo, or use something like WeTransfer to send the high resolution photos to me.
Yeah, you just sent me directions on how to do that, and I appreciate that because I need to go through the ones that I've taken, and I'm mentally making a list of all the things I need to fix before I submit them to you. So selfishly, that last question was for me.
Okay.
It's time for our first fun segment. We'll read a stanza to you, and you try to guess the hosta that finishes the rhyme. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, here's the first one. It's small and neat, a garden prize, with twisty leaves that tantalize. You'll love the shape, a wild surprise. Say hello to...
Curly fries.
You got it. All right, here's the next one. Its puckered leaves are near sublime, with glowing tones that shift through time. A modern twist, a chartreuse prime. That standout star is...
Paradigm.
You got it.
All right, Andy. As a former AHS president, what were some of your key priorities during your tenure?
Well, one of the things I really wanted to accomplish was to kind of move our visual image into the 21st century. Looking at the AHS website and our logo, they were very outdated. The AHS website looked like something I had developed for the Men's Garden Club in Minneapolis in 1997. So that was a big thing. And, you know, whatever you do in terms of change, there are going to be people who don't like it because it's different. And by golly, we had some resistance, but it finally got done. And I think it came out very well, both the website and the logo. The biggest challenge I was faced with was actually the passing away of Dr. Bob Olson,
Hmm.
who had been editor of the Hosta Journal for 22 years, and who was going to pick up that ball and carry
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And fortunately, Danny Lawson from Wichita had been working as editor of the online Hosta Journal and was willing to take it over and has done a great job in the 3 years that he has been the editor. And a delightful man to work with, and
Mhm.
a great guy to garden tour with, which we've done at a couple of conventions now.
That's great.
What were some challenges that you faced in leading a national organization?
Well, I think resistance to change is always a challenge,
Mhm.
and bringing together some disparate personalities and
Mm.
getting them all to be rowing the boat in the same
Yeah.
direction. It's not always easy to do.
Well, how have you seen the society grow or shift over the years?
Well, like all voluntary organizations, we faced real challenges with membership numbers.
Mm.
I think at one time the Hosta Society was up over 3,000 members. And at the point when I became president, we were below 2,000, I think.
Mm.
And we were kind of just drifting along. And the updating of the website and the logo and all of that stuff was an effort to look more like something the younger people want to get
Hmm.
involved with.
Mhm.
We're a very white-haired organization, unfortunately,
Mm.
like a lot of voluntary organizations, not just plant societies, but cultural groups, symphony orchestras, uh, all of those kinds of organizations are suffering from their members dying off, unfortunately.
Hmm.
One of our very, very lucky things was Barry Ankney being willing to become membership secretary. And he has gotten our numbers back up to over 2,200. And just as a powerhouse with ideas and effort, and was absolutely wonderfully rewarded by being given the Alex J. Summers Distinguished Merit Award at the convention this summer. A very, very deserving guy.
I heard about that. That's wonderful.
Mm.
That's great. Well, and you were president during, was it the COVID years?
Oh yeah.
That
You
had to
know,
have been
I've
tough.
totally forgotten about that. Well, it was very tough in that the Minnesota Hosta Society was scheduled to host the convention in 2020. We had a history of hosting the convention at the decadal years
Oh, okay.
uh, in
Mm.
2000, 2010. I think we did it in 1990, 1990, 2000, 2010. We were going to do it in 2020. And we were all prepared and had to cancel it.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
that was
Mm.
just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then Don Rawson, the chairs of the 2021 convention, did a tremendous job in creating a digital convention.
Mm.
Unbelievably good. And had fantastic attendance. Um, I just, those guys, just that whole group from Western Michigan got and deserved great accolades for what
Hmm.
they did in 2021.
Mm.
That's the that's I finally put it together. There's a video on the Hosta Library by Chris, um, is it Wilson from Halson Gardens? He's since moved to Ireland. But it's all about HVX.
Oh,
And
yes.
it's on, it's you click on HVX information on the Hosta Library and it takes you straight to his video. And I was trying to figure out why there was a video about this until I realized it had to have been from the 2021 Hosta Convention when it was digital. And we just happened to have this digital record of this wonderful presentation on HVX. I've
Well,
watched it
because
multiple times.
because everything at the 21
Mhm.
convention was done via Zoom.
Yeah,
It was all recorded.
that's great.
Um, and
That's good. Yeah.
and eventually, I believe they're all going to be made available on the Hosta Society's YouTube channel
Oh,
Mm.
nice.
and access through the members portion of the American Hosta Society website.
Oh, nice.
Um, Also, they hired a wonderful young videographer to do video tours of the garden of the gardens that would have been on physical tour
Mm.
had we
Oh,
all been able to go to Kalamazoo and environs.
Mm.
If you attended the virtual convention, of course, you saw those tour garden videos, which in some ways were even better than being there in person
hmm.
because there were extended interviews with the gardeners. And if you go on a garden tour, you might get 3 questions
Yeah.
with the
Mhm.
garden owner. Uh, but they talked at some length. And the garden was unencumbered by all these other people getting in your way when you're trying to
Mm.
look at the hostas. So
Yeah.
that came off very well. And in fact, the society now has hired this young man to continue this effort. And there will be continual videos available as a feature of membership. Most of them won't be available to the public, um, but there will be trailers
Hmm.
on YouTube to encourage people to become members so they have access to the full video.
Mm.
I love that. I think that's brilliant and offering ways for people to engage. And, not everybody can jump in their car. And let's be honest, it's expensive to go to a convention, but offering ability to see these things, from the comfort of your couch through the active use of your membership with the AHS. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. I love
Mm.
that.
The other thing that we're doing, and actually I got involved in because of my radio experience, is talking to the Hosta luminaries, and people who have been important in the life of the society or in the life of the genus Hosta. And at the summer convention, I did interviews with Mark Zillis and Don Dean and Harold McDonald, and they'll all be made available at some point, talking about their involvement in the Hosta world.
That's great. And in a lot of ways, it kind of feels like what we're doing here with the podcast in
Well,
some ways.
that just occurred to me as I was
Yeah.
saying that.
Yeah.
Well,
Huh.
it's one of those things that nobody's going to have a chance to just go talk to, Don Rawson or Olga Patrician or you. And this is a great audio library in essence, that's going to be available forever. 5, 10 years from now, we can pull up this podcast and listen to this interview. And, you know, my hope anyway is teach a whole new generation of people how to care for hosses, love them, enjoy them, hybridize
Mhm.
them. And so that was a big component of why we wanted to do this podcast.
Well, the it's just too bad that all of this didn't start years ago because we've lost, all of the knowledge of an Alex J. Summers or Eldrin Minks or, if whoever founders and early pioneers in the hosta world are, it's all gone forever, and it's too bad we
Mhm.
didn't do something before now. I
Yeah.
had an
Mhm.
opportunity to work with the Minnesota Historical Society, who at some point in the early 2000s started thinking about trying to chronicle the experiences of Minnesotans in World War One.
Oh,
Well, there was no one around.
yeah.
Very few people survived from that era.
Yeah.
And so then they started doing the Vietnam era
Yep.
because there were still lots of people alive. And I was fortunate enough to participate in that
Mm.
project. So you have to be able to figure out to do it when you've got the resources available.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a time element to it. And, as I reach out to guests to come on the pod, very few people have any pushback at all. I mean, if there's any, I'm very busy. But the people that are reaching out, their number one comment has been, "Thank you for inviting me. Thank you
Mhm.
for wanting to have me on." And to me, that's really neat. I'm a teacher, and I think part of just my DNA is wanting to educate people. And what better way than to invite these experts on a show that's going to stick around forever? And I think that that really appeals to me.
It's an important effort,
Yeah,
definitely.
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Andy, you've led several workshops on photographing hostas. What do you enjoy most about teaching those courses?
Just the interaction with the people. I go through my spiel and, show them the rule of thirds and what makes a good photograph and how to get up close and how to get in all the things we've talked about. And I always ask them beforehand to send me anonymously, or at least I'm going to show them anonymously, some of their Hosta photographs. And then at the end, we go through these photographs one by one, and I get the audience to tell me what's good and what's less good about these photographs. And we do it with no names attached, so no one gets their feelings hurt.
Hmm.
Um, but then I'm able to sense how much people have absorbed what I've told them, and they're able to say, "Oh, here's something I learned and I can apply right now."
Hmm.
So that part is incredibly enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'd like to sit in on that class.
Mhm.
That'd be
Good
neat.
one. All right, Andy, it's time for our fast and fun segment, This or That. Just say the first answer that comes to mind. All right, film or digital?
Oh, digital, no
Okay.
question.
All right, morning light or golden hour?
Morning light, golden hour casts a gold uh, tone on your plants or on whatever you're taking a picture of.
Hmm,
So unless you're looking for that effect, morning light, far
hmm,
better.
okay. Wild seedlings or named cultivars?
Named cultivars. I just dread going into a tour garden where they haven't labeled their plants.
Oh.
I need to know what it is.
Yeah, same here.
All right, giant leaves or intricate variegation?
That's a tough one. I would say large leaves. I like them big. I like them blue, like Don Ross, and I like them corrugated.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Uh, so
yeah.
yeah, big leaves.
Okay. All right, last one. Editing in Photoshop or keeping it natural?
Keeping it natural. We rarely do anything in Photoshop except remove debris and plant labels from photos. We
Oh,
we want the plant to look like it looks.
yeah,
We don't want to manipulate it. So,
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you have been such a big part of the American Hosta Society and Hosta communities in general. So, what keeps you inspired after all these years?
well, there's a saying that you go to hosta conventions or to join a hosta society for the plants, but you stay for the people.
Hmm.
And that's what it's about. It's people who share your enthusiasm for the plants and for the people who love them.
Yeah, definitely. So, you went to the convention this year in Peoria. What were some of your takeaways from the convention?
Um, Fabulous gardens. Very, very nicely done. Hot day. I really enjoyed Don Rosson's talk, particularly the idea of crossbreeding with the agaves and the
Mhm.
possibilities that might bring. Um, I just love the fact that Barry Ankney was given the Alex J. Summers Award. And I felt entirely tortured by having to read June Colley's keynote speech and show her slides.
So for people who weren't there, tell us what happened.
Well, June Colley, who is a world traveler and a fabulous photographer, excellent writer, former editor of the British uh, Hosta and Hemorrhagicalis Society, was scheduled to be the keynote speaker. And she'd prepared this series of slides and stuff from her travels in Japan, South and North Korea, and China. And then her husband, John, was ill.
Oh.
And she couldn't come. And Barry Ankney, who was also the chair of the convention, said, well, it's okay. I'll read her speech and show the slides. So we'll still get the keynote.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I knew because as the immediate past president, I was the chair of the Alex J. Summers Committee, that he was going to have to give a long speech. And he's up there talking all the time anyway at the podium, and he's running out of voice.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob Mortko said, I got to talk to Barry. He's not going to be able to give two major speeches in one night.
Yeah.
Would you do June's presentation instead of Barry? And I said, okay. And Barry said, okay. And I got the speech about 2 hours before the banquet. So I didn't get to read the last 6 pages.
Oh.
And of course, it had all of these Korean and Japanese and Chinese words for places and people. And I did my best, and people told me I did okay, but man, it was torture.
Oh, no.
That was good of you to do that.
Yeah, it is good for sure. Well, my last question to you is, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to leave us with?
I never have final thoughts because I think I'm going to die then. But
okay, how can I rephrase that? Any thoughts? Any thoughts before we say goodbye for now?
Yeah.
No, my thought is you guys doing a wonderful thing by creating this podcast. Vastly more entertaining than I anticipated. I listened to all the past programs, and I think you're doing a wonderful service to the Hosta world.
Oh, well, thanks,
you.
Andy. We really appreciate that.
Well, Andy, thank you for joining us today and for all your knowledge and leadership and inspiration you've brought to the Hosta world.
And join us next week when we sit down with another amazing guest. Be sure to follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and like us on Facebook. We welcome your questions and comments at Hosta La Vista Podcast at gmail.com. Until next time, thanks for listening and
Hasta la vista, baby.
Awesome.
we did it.
Thank you for inviting me.